Welcome to the Madison Motor Podcast Special Edition Series where we go over each and every 2024 NCAA Men's College Basketball Conference Tournament. This will be the 16th of 32 shows, and this will be the ACC. The tournament will be held at the Capital One Arena in Washington, D.C. First round will be Tuesday, March 12th. Second round, Wednesday, March 13th. Quarterfinals, Thursday, March 14th. Semifinals, Friday, March 15th. And then the championship will be Saturday, March 16th. So, without further ado, we'll get going with the seedings. So, your number one seed in this tournament with a record of 25-6 overall, 17-3 in conference play. Your number 4 team in the country, the North Carolina Tar Heels. Second, 24-7 overall, 15-5 in conference play. Number 11 in the country, the Duke Blue Devils. Third, 22-9 overall, 13-7 in conference play. The Virginia Cavaliers. Your 4th seed, 21-10 overall, 12-8 in conference play. The Pittsburgh Panthers. 5th, 19-12 overall, 11-9 in conference play. The Wake Forest Demon Deacons. 6th, 21-10 overall, 11-9 in conference play. The Clemson Tigers. 7th, 20-11 overall, 11-9 in conference play. The Syracuse Orange. Your 8th seed, 18-13 overall, 10-10 in conference play. The Virginia Tech Hokies. 9th, 16-15 overall, 10-10 in conference play. The Florida State Seminoles. 10th, 17-14 overall, 9-11 in conference play. The North Carolina State Wolfpack. 11th, 17-14 overall, 8-12 in conference play. The Boston College Eagles. 12th, 12-19 overall, 7-13 in conference play. The Notre Dame Fighting Irish. 13th, 14-17 overall, 7-13 in conference play. The Georgia Tech Yellow Jackets. 14th, 15-16 overall, 6-14 in conference play. The Miami Hurricanes. And at the bottom of the conference, 8-23 overall, 3-17 in conference play. The Louisville Cardinals. So, now we'll go over the bracket. And obviously, this is going to be a little bit of a longer show because it's the ACC. So, Tuesday, March 12th, 2 o'clock Eastern on the ACC Network. 13 seed Georgia Tech, 12 seed Notre Dame. Two really bad teams. The best guy on the court in this game will probably be Marcus Burton of Notre Dame. Although Georgia Tech has a deeper roster. My projection here is Tech 1.3, total 137 and 17/20. So I'm going to advance Georgia Tech. The second of 3 first-round games, 15 seed Louisville, 10 seed NC State. Louisville's trash. I don't know why Kenny Payne is still their coach. He should have been fired after last season. And they are just the biggest joke in all of professional sports, arguably. Like, they are the joke of sports. And they won't be a joke when a competent coach goes in there and makes them relevant again. But this is really, really bad. This is like Dave Gettleman, Joe Judge Giants. Trying to think of other like proud franchises and pro sports that this can be comparable to. The Cubs before Theo Epstein showed up. There's some good comparisons, but this Louisville team's an absolute joke. Although they have 5 guys averaging, or no, 4. 1 guy's out for the year. And NC State, up and down most of the year, but they have a good player in DJ Horn averaging almost 17 a game. I project NC State 9.8, total 149 and a quarter, so I'm going to advance NC State. And the third of 3 first-round games, 14 seed Miami and 11 seed Boston College. Miami fell apart big time. Like, I feel bad for Jim Larrañaga. This team was in the Final Four a year ago, and they go from the Final Four to a disaster. And their best player, Norchad Omier, 17 a game. And then BC A little better than expected. Quentin Post, almost 17 a game as well. I only have BC projected by a third, total 148 and 7/10, so I'm going to advance the Eagles of Boston College. All right, second round, 4 games, which will be Wednesday, March 13th. 9 seed Florida State, 8 seed Virginia Tech. Neither of these teams lived up to expectations either. Best guy in the court in this game, Sean Padula of Virginia Tech. My line is Vatek 3/10 to the 148 and 19/20, so I'm going to advance Vatek. All right, no more totals because the rest of these matches are in theory. Second of 4 second round games. 13 seed Georgia Tech and 5 seed Wake Forest. Wake Forest, they're a team that kind of fell on its face at the end of the year. Although they did get a big win over Clemson on Saturday. Hunter Salas averages over 18 a game. He's a guy that can carry that team. They're actually pretty deep, too. I have Wake 6 1/4, so I'm going to advance Wake over Georgia Tech. Third of 4 second round games, 10 seed NC State, 7 seed Syracuse. Hughes, by some managers, have overachieved this year. They hit 20 wins, and I think that says a lot more about the ACC than it does about Syracuse. But they weren't great in conference play either. They have a really good player, Judah Mintz, almost 19 a game. I project Syracuse 3.9, so I'm going to advance Syracuse. In the last 4 second round games, 11 seed Boston College, 16 Clemson. Clemson's on the bubble. They have a really good player in PJ Hall, averaging almost 19 a game. I project Clemson 4 3/4. So I'm going to advance Clemson. Quarterfinals, March 14th, a Thursday. 18 Virginia Tech and 1 North Carolina. Carolina, great bounce back season with Hubert Davis. They're loaded, led by R.J. Davis, averaging over 21 a game. He has to be up there for National Player of the Year, in my opinion, let alone the ACC Player of the Year. My projection for this game is Carolina 10.9. So I'm going to advance Carolina. 5 seed Wake Forest, 4 seed Pitt. Pitt might be an at-large. They have some talent. They have a really good forward in Blake Hinson, averaging almost 19 a game. My projection is Pitt 2.4. So I'm going to advance Pitt. Third of 4 quarterfinal game, 7 seed Syracuse, 2 seed Duke. Duke rallied the troops after like an up and down start, and then they took advantage of the weak conference, I know. Kyle Filipowski is outstanding. Almost a 17-8 and 3. Best guy on the court. I project Duke 6.4. Wouldn't be shocked if the Orange kept it close, but because it's old rivals, granted. It's not K versus Boeheim, which obviously that was always fun. I remember Boeheim absolutely losing it at Cameron Indoor 1 year a long time ago. Or was that at Dean Smith? I don't remember. I want to say it was at Cameron Indoor because it was a terrible offensive foul call against Syracuse. And I want to say it was the 13-14 season. But, yeah, an old rival, but Duke should beat Syracuse. In the last of 4 quarterfinal games, 6 seed Clemson and 3 seed Virginia. Virginia very up and down this year. They might be an at-large. But they might be an at-large because of Tony Bennett and that team's reputation. They have a good player, Reese Beekman. I project Virginia 1.9, but I won't be shocked if Clemson's favored in that game. So I'm going to advance Virginia, though. Semifinals on March 15th. That'll be on ESPN that Friday night, 7 o'clock. 4 seed Pitt, 1 seed Carolina. I just think Carolina is significantly better. And quite frankly, it's not close. I project Carolina 6.3. They have Baycott and Davis. Pitt doesn't, so I'm going to advance Carolina. In the second to 2, 3 seed Virginia, 1 seed Duke. Again, Duke has the best guy in the court in Filipowski. Tony Bennett and that team might keep that game low scoring and ugly and get Filipowski in foul trouble. That's Virginia's avenue to beating Duke. I have Duke 3.3, so I'm going to advance Duke. And in the dream ACC title game, everybody wants it. It's the best rivalry. Dare I say in all sports? Is it up there in all sports? Because Yankees-Red Sox isn't what it used to be. Cowboys-Eagles is up there now. We really don't have, like, a real, like, oh, my God, what a great rivalry. Ohio-Michigan State is probably right up there as well. But Duke and Carolina played in the Final Four a couple years ago with some of these same guys that are still on Carolina's team. And it's the same coach. But granted, it was Coach K for Duke, but Hubert Davis was the coach for Carolina. But Duke-Carolina, for me, is the best rivalry in sports right now. I mean, Ohio State-Michigan's probably second in college football, and then I guess Yankees-Red Sox. And you can make a case for Cowboys-Eagles and a couple others. But sign me up, Duke-Carolina ACC title game. This is what the sport needs and wants. Filipowski or R.J. Davis both have the capabilities of being the best guys or best guy on the court in the game. My projection here is Carolina 1.2. I like both coaches. I think Hubert Davis has shed off that reputation from last year. I think this is Carolina's best team. I think they have a better team than the team that went to the Final Four 2 years ago. And I think Hubert Davis should be the ACC Coach of the Year. I think John Shire's done a good job with Duke, but I think Duke's just under the radar. Nobody's talking about them, but it might be a good thing for Duke. Less pressure. But I'm going to pick North Carolina to win this tournament, and I'm going to say R.J. Davis will be, of course, the most outstanding player as Carolina gets the auto bid. All right, at-large is Duke's going to be an at-large. I think Carolina has an outside chance at the 1 seed. They need Tennessee not to win the SEC tournament. They need a couple of other things to happen. They also could use, I think UConn, Purdue, and Houston are locks for 1 seeds. But Carolina is not out of the question for the last 1 seed. They need Tennessee to lose before the SEC final. And I think the door opened for them winning at Duke and then Tennessee losing to South Carolina over the weekend. So, they lost to Kentucky. They lost to Kentucky. South Carolina was the weekend prior, but they lost to Kentucky. So I think Carolina might be in the driver's seat if they win this tournament for the 1 seed. So Duke's going to be an at-large. Virginia. Notable wins. Florida. They lost to Wisconsin. They lost to Memphis, who isn't good. They lost to NC State. A lot of their wins came against like the weak teams of the conference. Miami, Florida State. They have a win over Clemson, which is good. Pitt beat them. They have a win over Wake. Vatech beat them. They lost to Carolina. They beat BC. They lost to Duke. They beat Vatech. But yeah, I think Virginia, I don't think they're a lock, but I think that there's a possibility that the Wahoos head to Dayton. Pitt has better wins on their resume. They beat Duke, which is a big deal. They did lose to Clemson. Clemson beat Carolina, so Clemson, I think, has a better chance at an at-large than Virginia. But yeah, it's weird. They lost to Duke at home, and then like a couple weeks later, they went into Duke and won at Cameron Indoor, which was weird. And they lost to Carolina. They lost to Clemson earlier in the year. They lost to Florida. They lost to Missouri. So there's a chance that Pitt doesn't make it. But they have the Duke win. So we'll see. I don't think Wake's getting in. I think Clemson has the best chance. They beat Alabama. They beat Carolina. I think Clemson's in. At gunpoint, I think, obviously, Duke and Carolina are locks. I'm going to say Clemson's in. Pitt's in. Virginia, maybe Dayton. But Pitt and Clemson cannot lose. And so Pitt needs to beat Wake, I think. And Clemson can't lose to the BC Miami winner. And then Wake could get back in it if they beat Pitt. I think they need to make the title game. I think they're headed to the NIT, Wake. Same with Virginia Tech. CBI, maybe Florida State, maybe BC, maybe NC State. So, also, we had to go to FanDuel and see who has value to win this tournament. Like I said, the ACC show was going to be long anyway because it's the ACC. The Big 12 is going to be long. A lot of these are going to be long. So, value to win the conference tournament. North Carolina's plus 160, Duke's plus 180, Wake's 8-1. Why is Wake 8-1? I don't know. Clemson's 10, Pitt's 15, Virginia's 16, Vatech 33, Syracuse 55, NC State 60, FSU 70, Miami 90, Notre Dame and BC 190, Georgia Tech and Louisville 250. Clemson at 10-1 is the value pick because of the center. So, that's something to watch with Clemson. I think they have the most value at 10-1. We talked about other tourney opportunities. So coaching. I think that obviously Shire and Davis are going to return. Tony Bennett will be fine. So I think Brad Brunell will return because they're probably going to make it. There's some other guys. Kenny Payne's obviously going to get fired. He's the worst. If anything, he'll probably be an assistant somewhere. And this is worse than Patrick Ewing, Georgetown. Patrick Ewing, Georgetown was bad, but at least Patrick Ewing made a tournament. Granted, it was an auto bid. Jim Larinaga, you got to wonder when he's going to retire. He had a bad conference season, and that's why that team fell apart. Micah Shrewsbury got that team to perform a little bit, and they won 7 conference games, I think is an accomplishment, because that team was supposed to be almost as bad as Louisville. And we'll see with some of these other schools with these coaching stuff. So there you have it for the ACC. Next up will be the Atlantic 10.